into you, baby. Even electricity can't compare to what I feel when I'm with you. Oh, baby, giving up my ghost for you. Now I'm see-through. You give me a feeling so strong. I know you've been treating yourself wrong. So let me care for you. Ooh, baby, I'ma love you differently. I'll give you electricity, give it to you. And even if I could, I wouldn't turn on you. And I would stop the world for you. You know I wanna let you know I'll never let this feeling go. This love has no ceiling, I cannot deny.
Woo! What an intro, folks. How are you doing on a wonderful Tuesday evening? Hopefully for a short week for most of you. We are only a couple days away from, a new year, folks. So for those who are ready to end 2020, you do not have long to wait. And I want to say what's up to everybody in the house. Guys, thank you so much for joining along. But one of the good things that I wanted to share with everybody today, because we're about positive vibes here, and those who have watched the show, I kind of told everybody about my COVID journey. So got the results back today. For once in my life, I'm glad I was negative. So just so you know, we are in the clear. Things are going to be up and away from here, guys. So thank you again for everybody who's been kind of the support and everybody who's been reaching out. That was cool. So let's get started with this evening's show and this evening's guests, guys. So first of all, if this is your first time checking out the show, thank you so much, guys. We are streaming live, of course, across multiple platforms. So you can check us out on our Twitch channel. You can see the web address there at www.twitch.tv/Mfsb live on Twitch. If you're checking us out there, thank you guys so much. Please follow along. We're always trying to build our viewership there on Twitch. What a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful place to just hang out and, hang with your friends and drop knowledge, drop all kinds of crap in there. So thank you guys if you're checking us out on Twitch. And of course, we are streaming on our YouTube page. You can check us out there at www.youtube.com/made from scratch broadcast on YouTube. If you're do us a favor, if you're checking us out on YouTube, please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit the like button there, and do us a favor, drop a comment there as well, share it with your friends, and hit the notification bell. It'll let you know whenever we schedule new lives, whenever we are live like we are right now, and whenever we drop new video content on the channel. So if you're checking us out on YouTube, thank you so much. And of course, we are streaming on our Facebook page at MFSB Live as well. Thank you for checking us out on Facebook. Same sort of deal. Hit the like button. It'll allow you to set reminders, so you'll get a notification whenever we do go live if you're watching us on Facebook. And of course, we are streaming on our favorite platform, LinkedIn, guys. So if you're checking us out on LinkedIn, thank you so very much. So let's get started with this evening's guest. She is what is up. We got a lot of people. Well, let me just acknowledge a few of you guys. Daniel, last night's guest. If you did not watch that episode, please, I implore you to go check it out. Very gripping story last night that we had with Daniel. So thank you for watching, brother, and being a part of the chat this evening. And of course, we got the Vipers in the house. Thank you, guys. Former guest as well there, Mr. Jarius Tucker. How are you doing, my friend? Thank you for stopping by, dropping down in the comments as well. One of the cool things about being able to reach out to people on, blonde jokes already dropping. It's not even Friday. Well, that's okay. You can drop a blonde joke if you would like to in the comments. There is no Professor Lyrical. Thank you so much if you're watching us on YouTube. Thank you. Please consider subscribing to the channel for checking us out there. But again, real quick, one of the cool things that I wanted to talk about is, the power of connection and being able to reach out to folks. So if you've watched the show before, you know that one of my frequent guest hosts, Mr. Steve Sullivan, him and his partner Karen Markle have these things called these wonderful positivity chats, and this is actually where I got connected with this evening's guest, and then we had a offline conversation as well. And I'm glad that I got the opportunity to bring her on this evening. Yes, Nick, you can do dad jokes if you would like. You can drop those down in the comments as well. There are no rules here. That's the only rule we have. There are no rules, so follow that and you're good to go. So, all right. But I met this person there, and gosh, we had a really good conversation. I vibed really well, and I like a lot of the things that we had talked about. And it was just one of those things where you find people who are very just real and authentic whenever they share their own lives, and whenever you have these conversations. That's one of the best things that I actually look for, is to see those people living in their element, being who they're supposed to be. And of course, yes, positivity chats rock Dimitri, and Dimitri is actually a former guest as well. So we're going to go ahead and initiate this evening's guest and add her to the list of wonderful people who've come by and had a conversation with me. So guys, please help me welcome to the show this evening's guest, Miss Nicole P. Jones.
Hi,
How
you
are
guys?
you? Thank you for
Good.
stopping by. I appreciate you. I know it's been a while since we initially planned to have this happen, but we're going to switch this up real quick. You're going to be Nicole.
I'm
I'll
gonna
be
be
me.
gay. No, okay.
Well, we can play that game. There's no, again, everybody knows there's no set rules here, so we just do whatever we want.
I don't know how you keep it going. All of the posts and everything keep popping up. I'm like, what is going on? How do you even keep track?
Well, I think it's just over doing it over and over again, just repetitive nature. It's like one of those things. It's like when you learn how to write, it just becomes memory. Like whenever you're doing with your handwriting, either writing in your regular handwriting or writing in cursive, it's just memory how it goes. So for me, I think it's the same thing whenever I do the show here, and just look at the comments. It's just part of
Let's go.
Right, keep us on our toes, folks. So but one of the things that when I first kind of met you, it was, of course, like I mentioned, in one of those chats. But what I really liked about some of the things that you had to share, and everybody that was actually in that group kind of share, was just that it was a very open and honest conversation for adults. And it was one of those things where I kind of live for those. I love those sort of conversations where you can actually just open up and be whoever you want to be, and share however comfortable you are sharing whatever information that you're talking about. So I wanted to ask you, how did you actually get involved with that as well? Because again, I got involved because I know Steve very well. I mean, he's been on a guest host on the show. He was kind of like one of the early people to reach out to me on my little journey here on LinkedIn. So I just wanted to ask, because I've met a lot of people in those chats, and I've actually had quite a few that I've actually brought on to this stage here and kind of shared it with you. So how did you actually get involved in those chats as well?
The positivity chat.
The positivity chat, because it is what it says it is. You walk out of there and you feel very good about life, and a lot of the things that you share with the people who are involved there.
Yeah, very uplifting. I mean, I met Steve Sullivan just for a brief moment. He and I probably had a conversation, and then I knew of Karen Markle. Never really had spoken to each other, but knew her from a few other people that I knew on LinkedIn. And then Edward Acopney was a person who I had spoken to, and he was like, I don't know why you're not in this positivity chat. Like, you'd be perfect. I was like, I don't even know what that is. Who's in it? Like, how could I get invited? I'd love to participate. I mean, I think at the time when this all started, I believe it just started the beginning of this year, or maybe it started towards the tail end of last year. But it really came at at a wonderful time for me because I had taken a step back from LinkedIn. And once he kind of gave them my name, they both reached out and was like, hey, you should join us. And then I just keep joining and meeting people. Like, I mean, like you say, I believe there's some people that we meet in this group that I probably wouldn't ordinarily just kind of meet. Hi, Dimitri. It's another person, it's like Karen. There's so many people that I've met in this group that are super positive, really, really enjoy their values. I feel like we align in so many different ways. And for me, life is really about just like sharing stories and understanding where people are coming from. I mean, I love to get into deep conversation and not really stay on the superficial level. So sometimes I can scare people, but I really like getting to know someone. If I ask you how you're doing, I really mean, how are you doing?
Hey,
And that's just me.
it's pretty straightforward, though. I mean, it is. Excuse me. It is one. Oh, too much water. No, but one of the things that, like you were talking about, is that you feel very real about when you reach out to somebody and you want to actually come across as who you say you are. That's one of the things that I've really worked on myself, is for people to understand that when I sit here and have these conversations, or whether they're online or offline, and a lot of people are learning this about me, is that I love just really learning about people and kind of taking in their sort of experiences in life and sharing it with as many people as possible. Because again, I think that's one of the themes that we've talked about here, is that it's people have value. Everybody has their own sort of value, what they can contribute in life. So let's talk a little bit about that, and with your career and how you actually got started with the whole. Well, you do a multitude of things, not just your career, but you are one of those who I love to talk about. One of those mothers that actually has to do stay-at-home work. She does coaching. She's a teacher. She's just everything. Just those ladies, I kind of hold them on a little bit of a higher pedestal, because they go through so much. They have so much that they have to carry. And not that, again, not guys, I'm not trying to slight you in any different way. I just think it's a lot more work that they have to do. They have more hats to wear than most. So tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do, because you have a lot of interesting things that you're kind of involved in right now. It's like I said, it's not just one deal like we were talking about
No,
before. It is
no.
multiple deals that you have going on.
Yeah, I mean, look, I started. I'm originally from Virginia. I'm living in Virginia now. I lived in Boston for a little bit over 20 years, and moved back here about 4 years ago after my mom passed away unexpectedly of pneumonia. And at that time, I was in corporate for a really long time. I started my career early on in music. So I was a singer, played the viola for many years, the piano, and we ended up going to University of Virginia to do pre-med, and then I switched over to music. And then I got my degree in music from the University of Virginia, and then went to Berklee College of Music in Boston to study jazz vocal performance. So that's what I was doing in Boston. Decided, yes, I like the music, but I do want to be able to pay some bills. So I started doing a little bit more temp work, and then got into an asset management company as a receptionist, grew from there in investor relations, and then moved over to the biotechnology industry. And that's really where I started my career. And I was really working closely with the top leaders of the company. So I worked with CEOs and CFOs on anything. Presentations, I worked with Wall Street, I worked with scientists, chief medical officers, I mean, just all kinds of interesting people. And I really think what allowed me to propel in that world was really my personality. Like, I really want to get to know a person. And because of that, I feel I was able to kind of go into every type of group, every type of meeting, deal with any type of person, because I want to figure out where you are. If I can meet you where you are, then we've got something going on. And I feel that for me, it felt kind of easy. I was like, I'm working with people that are either introverted, extroverted, multiverted, whatever you want to say, different religion, different cultures, different countries. But I just always found some kind of common ground with them. And for me, I was able to kind of find my way in the corporate world.
Mm.
From there, I started realizing though that I felt empty. You know, I pivoted from music to finance industry to the biotechnology industry, and I was able to pivot well. But I started feeling like, you know what, I'm kind of empty. I don't have much that I'm really, really excited for. I can do my job. Yes, I enjoy working with certain people. Yes, I enjoy seeing what type of patients we're working with. But I didn't feel like I was really passionate about what I was doing anymore, but
Hmm.
I could do it. Paid well. Okay.
Yeah.
Enjoyed the money, enjoyed traveling, buying things. But, you know, at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's just things, right? When you die, you're not taking them with you. So I started thinking like I really needed to do something that I was passionate about. And I felt like I was passionate about music, but I started thinking that's not what I wanted to really do. I still have it in me. It's still something that makes me smile and vibe, and I'll dance and sing. But I've always been about helping people. I mean, my life's motto is help when and where you can because you can.
Mm.
And so my vibe is service.
Wow.
It's service.
Hey, that excuse me. I love that about um, what you're talking about, because again, that's the whole thing about finding what it is that kind of drives you. You know, is finding the thing that's gonna make you wake up every morning, um, regardless of how you feel physically, emotionally. That'll make you get up and want to go. You know what? I know what my purpose is. I think for a lot of people that when you have that set in place, it makes those days that most people find very difficult to get through a lot easier for those that have an actual purpose who go, you know what, I know what it is I need to do today. Even you know, even if the skies are gloomy outside, whatever it is, I know what it. You know, that's the same way I feel here. There's days that um I get up and I go, oh my gosh, I just physically I feel like I don't have the resolve to do it.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but then you start thinking and start connecting and doing the things that you used to, and you're like, okay, this is it gets me going again. It gets me fired up, and usually by the end of the night or by the time I'm done, um, I'm refreshed again. I feel like, okay, this is good. It gets a different perspective to you, and I love that you do that, and you say that you're doing it to serve. Um,
Yeah,
that
definitely doing it to serve. I mean, there's nothing that makes me more happy than to see people continue to succeed in life. I mean, when I was in corporate, I felt like people always came to my office, hey, Nick, can you help me out? Like, I need to have this conversation with this person. I don't know how to approach them, what to do. And I'm like, why are people coming to me? I'm not HR. Like, I'm just doing my job over here. Like, I'm not HR. um, but I just knew, again, for me, it always ends with the word of people. And
yeah.
so I started thinking, I said, you know, when I retire, I really want to go into coaching. Coaching, I didn't know if I wanted to do executive, life, be a strategist of some sort. But at the time when I was going to leave corporate, we had a phase 2 trial that was going, and the trial failed, and they were going to let, you know, hundreds of people off. And so I was actually hoping, raising my hand, that I was going to get let go, and I did. And that
Mm,
was really the nudge that I needed. I questioned it. I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready. People were questioning me as well. Like, are you sure? Like, just go and work for another CEO. Like, it'll be easy. But I just felt like, yeah, I could go do that. But I'm just, again, doing something that is easy because it pays and I don't have to learn anything new. And it just was easy, right? But I just didn't feel fulfilled. And so leaving was a really big risk for me. But once I decided to leave, I didn't feel like it was a risk. I feel like this is what I should have always been doing. It's not
mm,
a risk. This is where you're supposed to be right now. Don't turn back right now.
mm. Man, um, gosh, I really like that you said that, because I think for like, especially what you're talking about right now, for a lot of people, this is going to be them in a few days because we're starting a new year, and that's usually where a lot of people go, you know what, I'm going to wipe the slate clean. I'm going to go into 2021. I'm going to do all of these other things. I'm going to create all of these vision boards and everything else. But for a lot of folks, that's the whole thing about it is, when they kind of say, like when they burn the boats, take the island, to not go back once you make that decision to say, you know what, this is what I'm going to pursue. And I like that you said fulfillment, because for a lot of folks, people will equate success in certain things with either having money, right, or having status, or having all these other things. But yet, you see it all the time. You see it on the news. You see it in entertainment all the time, that movie stars who have all of these things that we value as being successful, who end up either ending their lives, or they go down a different path. They start getting in trouble because they don't have that sense of fulfillment, right? I think
that emptiness will kill you.
And yes, and again, I love that you say that, because for a lot of folks, that's one of the things that they can have out this well set out plan. You can go have everything ready to go. You could do all these things you say you're going to do, but if it's not the thing that's going to fulfill you, though, it's going to be very difficult to execute very well, because you're not going to feel wholeheartedly that you're putting everything into it and getting everything out of it that you should be.
And look, at the end of the day, we know ourselves the best, right? You know you, and I know me.
Yes.
So we are able to fool anybody if we really want to.
Yes, we can.
But we can't fool ourselves. There's a time when it's like game over. Like, good for you. You were playing the game. You were playing it well. You were on top. But there's a point where it's like, dun dun, it's over. Game over. Like, you can't keep running. You can't keep hiding. You can't keep pretending, faking, whatever it is. There's a point where you have to be like, I just don't really, like, who am I trying to keep up with? I know my last name is Jones. I'm not trying to keep up with myself over here. Trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Wow. Well,
and I know my last name is Jones and all, but can't really keep up with myself sometimes. Like, you have to really take a step back and be like, hey, what's going on? Like, do you really want to do what you're doing? And that's the thing. I think that, another reason why I love what I do now in coaching is because we just don't ask ourselves those tough questions, right? We ask ourselves the easy ones, or we don't even ask. We just pretend. We're like, oh, I'm just going to sit over here. We hide. I'm doing well. Oh, I'm doing great. So we're awesome. But behind the scenes, you're miserable.
Yeah.
But you don't want to ask yourself the following. How happy are you really? How happy are you? On a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest of happy, how happy are you really?
Yes. I've been having these conversations about that offline with a lot of people, because you know what, it is one of those things where at the end of the day, you have to be able to say that when the day's done, because and I've kind of been very blunt about this, that nothing's promised about tomorrow, right?
No.
So how do you get up every day and you go out and make yourself to live to the fullest, where you're happy every day and you go, this is what I've meant to do. I feel that every day. And if I don't, I go back and I evaluate why. I look at things in my life at that point and go, okay, what was it today that didn't allow me to fulfill myself, to feel happy? What are one of those things where it's one of those things where you gotta really look at, you look at yourself. Like you said, for a lot of people, it's very difficult to look in the mirror and ask those questions about yourself, because you're afraid you already know the answers inside of you. And it's
you
one
don't
of
want
those
to
things
say it
where
out loud, though.
you don't want to say it out loud, right? It's one of those things where you say, where you feel if you say it, you've already crossed that barrier and it's there.
Right.
It's no longer
Now
in the
it's like I've said it, it's out there in the atmosphere. And if you have not asked yourself that question this year, I'm gonna be real. If
Yes.
anybody listening has not asked themselves this question this year, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Exactly.
What are you doing? Because I mean, look, I ask myself that question a lot, right? But when March hit, I got really sick. Not sure if I had COVID, but I got really, really sick. I had the worst cold I have ever had for like two months. And in the 2 months, I just started reevaluating. Still loving what I do, but could I love it even better? Could I make some changes? Could I figure out how I could do something different with my business? Could I make some different connections that were going to be what? Fulfilling, not draining, but fulfilling. See, the thing about my personality and the thing about people that are givers, the thing about people who are caregivers, service people is we take, we give, right? We take people's feelings. They constantly need advice. They want to ask these questions. And there's so much that comes your way that there's a point sometimes you're just like, oh, I don't want to hear anymore. Like, I just need to kind of take a moment for me. And that's kind of what I did, when COVID hit. I was kind of like, all right, you know what? I'm shutting myself down. I'm giving myself a timeout. Because what other time in your entire life has everybody been shut down?
Yeah.
Usually you're one by yourself, right? Like
Right.
I was shut down, or I lost my job. No one else has lost their job. Everyone has their job, and you're over here like, oh, I wish I could find a job. Like, this is so tough. It's like, okay, everyone's gotten furloughed. People have gotten fired. People are struggling. People can't, like, there's so much just turmoil that's going right now that you kind of, I don't know how you can pretend that you can't just ask yourself those questions. Am I happy where I am right now?
Because I think that for a lot of people, they're afraid of the answer. A lot of people are afraid of the answer to those questions. I know because I lived that way for a very long time myself.
Yeah.
Before I figured out that I had to do that I had to say, you know what, I got to put this out there. Am I living my best life? If I die tomorrow, will I be satisfied with everything that's left behind?
That legacy is important.
And this is why this is a very important question. I asked this in this show, but I'm going to ask you as well. But it's one of those things though that you really have to look at whenever you're evaluating everything in your life. And when I evaluated everything in my own life, I knew I was not in the place that I wanted to be. Even now, I'm working towards getting there, but there's still things that I push for every day that I say, you know what? There's other things that I really want to go out and accomplish. There's other things that I'm really focusing on to get to those points that I've set out. But at least I know I have a direction where I want to head to and where I want to kind of go with the next few weeks actually going forward. Because again, I no longer set goals for a whole year. That was a misconception. I read a book, changed my perspective on how I approach that. So I kind of set it out in kind of in a couple of week blocks where I go back and I look at everything. And I've always been one of those. I started doing this at the beginning of this year, but taking pinpoints along this year and kind of reevaluating where I'm going, what I've learned, what I need to improve on, what I've actually succeeded past my expectations on. So those are things that I've actually taken into account in my own journey. But there's things that I want to continue to build upon what I've started this year, going into next year. For me, there's a lot of things that I think a lot of folks and I don't want to discredit a lot of the folks who say I want to do the whole New Year's resolution thing.
Yeah, I don't do that.
I think it's great that you want to enact change in your life.
Yeah.
I'm all for that. For me, it's more about how you approach it and how you go out and start putting those things again into action in your own lives and start to doing it. So,
And you said the key thing, and not to interrupt you, but you said the key thing. That's why I do want to interrupt you here, is because it's action. And while, yes, I don't want to rain on anyone's parade that's about New Year's resolutions, but I always failed. I never completed a New Year's resolution ever. Like it just, it's just never. Until I started, like you said, the approach in terms of looking at a goal and just continuing to make steps towards that, but not for the full year. Because for the full year, dude, if I say, look, I want to go to the gym every single day for 365 days, I failed at day 5 because it's so forward. It's so far out there. But what are the small steps that I can continue to make to feel greater about myself, to feel healthier about myself, to feel stronger about myself? That's like little steps. So like you said, the week to week, even a month goal or whatever. But, I have big goals, but I have to like really dumb it down to like, a couple weeks here, a couple weeks there. If not, I allow myself to get too overwhelmed. And then I allow all these different things, i.e. excuses, to pop in for me to kind of not fulfill that. And so I'm a lot with the alignment with you in terms of you pick a few things that you want to achieve, but you have to keep checking in. Where am I?
Yeah.
How am I going to get there? Do I need to pivot? Do I need to like update that goal a bit? But that whole year thing, I failed within the first.
Yeah. And that's why I kind of say, what I've been saying lately is just having action with intention. For me, that's one of the things that I've been, my goal this year that we're about to come to an end to was challenge. That's how I started the year out. Okay. This next year is going to be about integrity. And it's going into action with very purposeful intention on how I want to do things. And regardless if I succeed or I fail, I still have to approach it the same way. I mean, that's what I'm going to be doing for this next couple of months going forward, because again, I built upon a lot of things this year that I discovered about myself, and I want to keep continuing along that journey of how I've continued to grow, because I think that's one of the best things that has been very crucial in me discovering a lot about my own self and my own journey. So what we're doing here now, this conversation, everything, this is just a part of what happened when I challenged myself. So I figure if this is what become of me challenging myself, I can only imagine what I'm going to do when I start putting action and intention together and really building upon what's coming for this next year. So yeah, I've said a lot. I've done a lot of thinking, and again, I'm going to do this either way at the end of the year. Here is to reevaluate, because I've always done that.
Well, let me ask you a question. I know this is your show, but I can't.
Go ahead.
Because I'm a curious person. 31st is coming, right?
Yes.
How do you feel like when you look back on the year and what you put into purpose of that challenge? Like, how do you feel?
Oh, I feel two things. First of all, I feel very happy because I found something that I actually didn't know that I would love and enjoy so much unintentionally, but it was because I challenged myself. That is one thing that I absolutely love about this year. The second is, there are other things that I had planned out that I did not accomplish. And for me, that's going to be one of these. For me, that's another reason to start putting actionable purpose in what I do with my next few steps.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to take those things that I planned out at the beginning of the year that I thought that I really wanted to kind of work on, that I didn't take the opportunity to actually do those things, because I was sort of figuring out a lot about myself, because this was a very big transition year for me.
Yeah.
I was learning so much more about myself and what this actually was going to be, and how this was going to be very crucial in how I went ahead and approached any other projects that I was doing. So I think going into this next year, I'm going to take those things um, that are always been there for me, and one of them is writing a book, because I've been a very passionate writer for a very long time. Um, but what really used to hold me back was I was very fearful. I was worried about rejection. I was worried about a lot of things. So I think by doing this and being in front of a camera and doing the talking thing, that's no longer there.
That's awesome.
I think for me, it's just about now, again, setting down action, doing my writing with intention, and getting those things accomplished that I really want to. So that's for me the next step in where I go forward in the next few couple of months. And of course, like I said, doing this is also, I don't think I'm ever going to step away from doing this anytime soon. It is for me I get too much joy out of it. There's just a lot for me that I take out of doing these sort of conversations. And, it's been such a great, experience, learning every single night from somebody else. I take away a lot of things from folks who come on here, and they may not know it, but there is something that goes, there is something to asking these questions that people probably don't know that they really mean something to me. Because again, there's a lot of people who I believe, through their experiences, are able to teach others.
Yeah.
Even if they're not teachers themselves,
Yeah.
but through their experiences, they're able to teach others. These are, you may not know what it is or how it works or what these things are, but there's somebody out there who probably does, and they're able to kind of, seeing somebody talk about these things, they go, wow, maybe that's what I need to help guide me in my own direction. So that's why I think these conversations are very important, that I get to bring here every single night, because I get new people that walk in here you know every few months or so. This crowd kind of replenishes, updates. People move on with their journeys, which is cool. I love that. And then there's new people that come in here who want to learn what it is that goes on in here, and I think it just adds more value to the community of people here who join me every night. And I think that's where I love to focus on individuals like yourself, because again, you've gone to the point where um, you've coached executives, you've done different things in life. Your
Hey,
path,
I'm working on my black belt. So I'm going for my black belt in Taekwondo in May with my little 7-year-old son. I
right?
cannot wait to go
And,
for my black belt. I never thought I would do that ever. Never even
and
thought about it.
exactly right. And your whole path to get to where you are now wasn't just a straight line. There wasn't here or there.
Your dog's not too happy right now.
He is not happy at all. For those who've watched the show, he's here.
He's usually kind of whimpering, but he's like not too.
Well, he's getting upset with me because he's like, "Hey, dude, what's going on here, man? You're not paying attention to me." I'm intentionally not trying to pay attention, but he's like right here, right to my left here, just like going, "Hey, man,
give me some love. Give me a little pat.
I need something, right?" So you'll be fine, buddy. You'll be fine. We give me the hour, and then we'll do what we got to do. But okay, so going forward, there's a few things that I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
For you coming into 2021, what are some of the things that you're going to be focusing on as far as how you're going to approach either your coaching or, like you said, black belt, or actually just in being involved as a parent? Because I think hopefully with the next couple months, sort of that sort of thing will start transitioning maybe back to a little bit normal, where you feel like now that we're going to be having vaccines, and who knows, I mean, is there going to be a point where we go send our kids back to school and then things are going to go a little bit differently? So what are some of the things that you're planning going forward? Because, school year runs going to end somewhere here in June, and then it'll start back up in September. And maybe by then things might have changed up a little bit, but what are some of the things that you got working in your world right now as
Right, in
far as
my crazy world. Yeah,
yes, and
there's
you're
always something going on in this household, my friend. Look, last year, like I said, took a little bit of a step. I stepped away from social media, so I wasn't very present on social media. I chose to be more present in my own personal life and present in my family's life, and that's what I needed to do, and that's where I wanted to be. And I feel really good that I did that. But what it did is allowed me to kind of look at my business, my coaching business, a little differently. I was able to get my first client in the Middle East. That was something that it just kind of landed in my lap. I didn't foresee that happening. And I've just learned so much to the point where it makes me be like, I really want to look at more opportunities like that. COVID brought this opportunity my way. Like I said, I didn't see coming. And it's been one of the best opportunities, the best learning opportunities, the best growth opportunity that I think that I could have asked for. And it was something that I didn't ask for. So imagine if I find other opportunities like this that I actually ask for. It came my way. It came my right way because I was ready. But I'm looking at it on a different level now in terms of, how can I recreate this? I mean, this kind of came my way. I wasn't even thinking about it. I was, coaching other people, and it was fun and interesting and different leaders. But this person came my way, and I was like, wow, this is like something amazing. Like I didn't see this coming. So kind of looking at how do I want to continue to grow my business? Do I want to make it more build more internationally than just staying in the US? And what was brilliant for me is that I've always been a virtual coach. So when this happened, and all my coaches who were always going into offices and their contracts are going into offices, some of my coaching friends had to shut down. They had no business. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't even imagine. And then I started thinking to myself when I said, oh my goodness, I'm just a virtual coach. And, maybe someday I'll go to someone's office, but people never want me there. And so that's okay. I kind of was like, I'm winning right now. I'm winning. Something that I didn't think was going to be of excitement for me turned out to be more of a plus. So looking at that, I may end up doing some group setups, like group coaching. I've never actually thought about doing something like that. But I'm pondering that. I have a coach myself. We also work together. He's my coach, I'm his coach. And we're also collaborating. We're writing a book. We've stopped. But I think right. I think this year we'll try to start it up a little bit more, and try to move that along. Collaboration is an area that I enjoy doing. Since I took some time off in 2020, in terms of being visible, this is awesome for me because I enjoyed speaking. I enjoy being in front of some kind of camera. And so I'm hoping to do more of this. I'm also a TEDx coach. So I'm hoping that I'll start being able to help others in that domain. We had to obviously stop a lot of that this year. So that may start back up a little bit more again next year. But, go ahead.
Whoa, that kind of piqued my interest a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
So how does one actually get involved in doing a TEDx speech? I mean, what are some of the criteria that people might want to say, you know what, I want to try to do that? What are some of the criteria that you kind of teach people and coach people on in wanting to get into doing something like that? Because for me, my realm, this is why it piques my interest. In my realm, at some point, I wanted to do public speaking, getting on the stage, because That is probably the only thing that I haven't done that was a fear of mine very early on, but I'm no longer afraid to. But I know that now that hopefully when things start changing again, that'd be one of the things that I get to go out and do is just
Nice.
speak
Yeah.
in front of people. So
Yeah.
that piqued my interest a little bit. How does one get involved in wanting to get coached to do a TEDx talk?
Well, I coach all different types of speaking, but TEDx, again, a thing that kind of fell into my lap. And I started coaching some people in my local area for TEDx Tyson's.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things. Some people will just say, oh, I have it on my list it's on my bucket list. I just want to do a TEDx talk one day.
Mm.
And while I think that's great, you have to have something to talk about. You have to have an idea. You have to have a reason for me to really care about what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's not, people don't realize the work that is really put into a TEDx talk. It's not getting up and doing a keynote speech. It's not getting up and just speaking in front of a board meeting. It is a very strategic talk. It's not even a presentation where you are really having to discuss your idea and thread it so well that it engages your audience, but there is some kind of interesting call to action potentially. Like it's not preaching to a person. It's not. And what happens with a lot of these people is that people will come in, they have this idea, and now I'm able to kind of choose. Like some people are kind of coming to me because they want me to help with their talk, but when I do TEDx Tyson's, I'm kind of given whomever they give me.
Yes.
And that comes with a lot. It comes with big personalities. It comes with people that are like, oh, I talk all the time. So, I'm ready. And then you see their talk and I'm like, no, you're really not ready. I mean, I'm glad you think you are, but we got work. We got some work to do.
Right.
And so, and I love it because I coach interesting personalities already.
Oh.
And so for me, when I get those people who are very much like, I'm good at what I do and I don't need you kind of vibe, I love that. That's like one of my favorite, that's one of my favorite people to coach. I'm like, yes, they held on for that one for me.
Yes.
Because I somehow start breaking it down for them to see why they need extra help. But some people want to do the talk for the wrong reason. And I was talking to someone today about TEDx, and I said, you need to know why you have whatever you're going to talk about that I would give 2 cents about what you're saying. Like, why would you want me to care about what you're talking about? The talk is not for you. The talk is not to make you feel good, check it off your box. Hey, I did a TEDx talk. I'm all that. Next. What is it that you're offering your audience? Why would people in your audience care to listen to you?
Ooh.
And when they walk away, how are they changed? Or what questions are they asking themselves about what you told them?
Exactly. Because I've wanted to focus on one thing. I do this every show, and it's about legacy. It is, for me, something that's very vital that we discover either very early on in our journeys, or we learn it towards the end. What legacy actually means to us, and that's one of the things that I focus on. Because again, when you talk about something like legacy, it's kind of like life itself. It transitions in how you answer that question, because an 18-year-old Nicole would not answer the question the same way as a 54-year-old Nicole might answer it.
And we ain't 54 yet, but go ahead.
54 yet, but I'm just saying as a compare and contrasting. But it's why it's so fascinating to me, and I think it's why fascinating for a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
To figure that out.
Yeah.
When you talk about what legacy actually is, I mean, most people will lay it out, but I've had there's so many different answers that I've heard asking that question about what it means. And Yes, I am kind of segueing into the question I ask everybody that's come on here, but again, it's for me, it's one of the most fascinating things about hearing somebody's answer about that, because their answers are just as unique as the person who I asked the question of. So that's just why I think it's such a different, for me, it's such a different approach when I talk about it for somebody. I never get tired of asking or hearing an answer to that question,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
um, for me, it is um, it is a learning tool that I take from everybody who's answered that question, actually putting together a whole thing about it. Um, and people who I've had on the show who've answered that questions, and why somebody's answer might have resonated with me a little bit more than somebody else's. Um, and not that there's a right or wrong answer. That's the thing about it as well.
I mean, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. The legacy that I would have thought about when I was 18 uh, versus to how I would think about it at 54, it's kind of interesting because in a crazy kind of way, it hasn't changed. It
Mm.
has just gotten a little bit more mature. Okay.
See?
So when I was younger, then this is really weird and it's going to get a little morbid for a minute. Okay.
Oh no, please do.
Because of how I treat people, kindness is like I live by kindness. I
Hmm.
live by it. So I was that little child, I was that teenager, young 20s, 30s, 40s, who is all about kindness. And it's not having to say, hey, look at me over here. I'm doing some kindness for these people. It's just when you meet me, that's what you get. And I always wanted to, when I was a young kid, when people would talk about people passing away and what would people say, but like, I want to be at my funeral. Like, I want to hear what people have to say about me. Like, it's this craziest thing. I felt like this since I was really young, and I still feel like this at my age today, and I'm still really young. Age is nothing but a number.
There you go.
But I just want to know, because the way that I see it is Nicole is a kind heart person that just wants whatever she can to help you out, whatever that may look like.
Mm.
And so that has never changed. I've just gotten mature about how I can help out people. But if it was drawing a picture and going to the nursing home or singing at the nursing home back then when I was 14 or 18, or doing pageants and doing my community service or whatever it was, I mean, that has never changed. I've always been a child of service, a person of kindness. But
Mm.
I will just continue to grow it and foster it and mature it the older that I get.
Mm.
But my message has never changed. Who I am has never changed. If my
Mm.
brother is still on the call watching in, he would agree. Like, that's just who I am. It's never
Wow,
changed.
I love that answer. That is, again, just as unique as the question itself. Is that there's that everybody who, again, I've asked the question of, it's again, I equate it to like having a snowflake. No two snowflakes are ever the same. Neither
Yeah.
is neither is the answer to that question. So you asked it, you answered the one part. I might as well finish the second part. So that we've talked about legacy. Now, what is the one thing that you think you want to be remembered for above all?
I would say, again, these get down to these little cliches, but it really is that I had a giving heart.
Hmm.
I wasn't afraid to share my heart either.
Ooh, now that, guys, um, I don't know if that does. I hope that strikes you same way it strikes me. But I love that about people who actually live that heart-centered life, who really approach every single day, um, sharing it. I mean, wearing it on their sleeves, being who they're. That's just who you are. Um, And I love that. I love that so much because I'm that same sort of person. Um, Anybody who's ever had a really deep conversation with me, they'll know. Um, they'll pick that up very quickly. I'm just this person. I've always been this person. Um, and I wish I could say the same thing about my answer that yours was because it sounds so
Yeah.
much better. But again, my
Your
answer.
answer is your answer. Don't be trying to copy me. This is a test.
No, it's not going to copy you. I kind of love that a lot. I love that a lot that it hasn't, it's matured. That's a different thing I've not heard anybody say yet. So that's just as unique as Nicole is. So guys, Nicole, thank you so much for coming in the show. I do
Thank you
appreciate it.
for
I
having
loved
me.
the conversation. Where is the best possible place for people to reach you if they want to reach out and have a
Sure. A
conversation
conversation, deep conversation.
with Nicole?
I'm obviously on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn under Nicole P. Jones. You can reach me on Instagram under Nicole Jones Coaching, Facebook under Nicole Jones Coaching, and my email is nicole@nicolejonescoaching.com. Oh, and my website is nicolejonescoaching.com.
Okay, so I'm going to put all that in the comments so you guys can go check it out,
Yeah.
and just
And
connect.
yes, I am a connector, so please reach out. Love to have a chat with you.
And yes, and again, this is why I tell. Well, let me preface this again. I say this to everybody who I mention this to. If you're going to reach out to Nicole, please write a very thoughtful invitation. Just don't send an invitation. Just send a small little personal note saying, "Hey, I
was
saw
on the
you on
show."
Gabe's. Yes, I was on Gabe's show. I want to reach out and connect with you, and would love to have the opportunity to have a conversation with you, just because you're so awesome." So,
Oh, well, I love that. You can just be like, I saw you. Peace out. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm okay with that as well.
Well, I love.
But I like
again,
yours, babe. I was like, oh, okay. Wow,
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
I love that. I love. But, well, and this is why I say it, because again, I don't like people to go in there and be just very cold and calculated, because again, it just makes it look like you're just reaching out for just whatever reason. I mean, literally, it's you get 140 characters, use them up, man. Put something in there very thoughtful and just share it with somebody. I've been more inclined to connect with somebody who does that with me, who says,
Yeah.
I see that in there, I go, cool, I'll answer that. Boom.
Hey,
right
you want
away.
to talk next week? Some people are like, you really want to talk? I'm like, yeah, that's what I do. I like to talk to people. They're like, oh, yeah, no one's ever asked me if I want to do a chat. I'm like, I just want to chat. I'm not selling anything. I just want to say, hey, that's it.
Yeah.
Where do you live? What do you do?
And
What's
that's
on your
all.
mind?
That's it. Yes. No, not that, Jacob.
He's killing me.
Jesus.
Hi.
Not hello. Gosh, those drive me nuts. That's a whole nother That's a whole nother topic for a whole nother show.
A whole nother show.
That's just crossing a lot of things, but okay. But again, thank you, Nicole, for coming on the show. And of course, I want to thank everybody who's been a part of this one, guys. You are the lifeblood of what we do. What we do here. This is why I get the opportunity to do what I do every day, is because you guys come along and you guys make it worth the while every single day. So I appreciate all of you. I love all of you guys in the community. You know that you guys are pretty special, and everybody who's actually either come on the show, been a part of the show, or is just a supporter. You guys rock, and yes, you're my favorite folks in the world. So, Nicole, sit tight. Everybody else, we will be back tomorrow evening, 7:30 Central Standard Time, with our guest, Miss Judy Fox. Yes, Miss Fox Rocks. She will be here tomorrow evening. And of course, that'll only leave us one more day after that before we flip the page on the calendar, or we can actually take the calendar off the wall and throw it away.
Flip it. Come on, 2021.
Come on, 2021. We're waiting for you. So thank you again, guys, so much.
Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you so much for joining and for all your fun comments. This has been great.
Yes, it's been a great one. So thank you guys again so much. And like we say every single night, guys, stay safe, stay blessed. Good night, everybody.
Bye.